The imaginal world is not a myth. To me, it's very, very real. It's present. It's something that I can understand and come to grips with in a contemplative way or a reflective way or in the context of meditation. It is not an academic pursuit to try and understand the imaginal world. It is a different kind of pursuit of gnosis. One of my most favorite authors, Henry Corbin, wrote in an essay, which is contained in a book called The Voyages and the Messenger. And it is a story of philosophy. And Corbin comes to the conclusion at the end of this series of essays that the goal of the philosopher at the end of their speculations and definitions, philosophers like to define things, is where the philosopher must come to gnosis. They must come to knowing that all of this aboutism that philosophers engage in at some point has to end. And those that don't want to end it are really falling short in their understandings of the world around, the very thing that they're trying to understand. Now, I know some of them are worried about their tenure, and, all this stuff gets a little bit messy when you start to encounter gnosis. It's a real different thing. But what I'm talking about here in this text goes beyond that a little bit, and it's a personal message. And it is a injunction that you begin to do your personal work in the context of your meditations and reflections, that you indeed move beyond the philosophies that you have accumulated in your life and begin to move into gnosis, into knowing. And that's where the imaginal world becomes available to us and is a part of our reality. So a lot of the theological types, the professors and the academics, they really like to use the word myth because it relieves them of a lot of responsibility. There's no way around that. They are not responsible. If you ask a professor of theology what they actually believe, you are met with a blank stare. That's been my experience. They refuse to say. They say that's not their job. Their job is to teach what the text says. And I am thinking to myself, by gosh, what an absolute cop-out. What an aversion to knowing. And so it becomes our job to move into the imaginal world, to take these ideas that have been transformed into myth and to re-enliven them, to re-engage them, to bring them into our active imagination in a way that they have life. They are living ideas that are part of our sacred being, our imaginal world that is our most vital force. It is our psychic connection to the cosmos, to the divine hierarchy. That's where we connect in an imaginal way. Not in a fantasy way, but an imaginal way, a different kind of imagination, a sacred imagination. Very different than the fantasies that occur as a result of our personality. So I'm saying again, to move beyond personality, to set personality down, in order to be able to engage the imaginal part of who we are, to have our imaginal reality enlivened and quickened by the psychic power that is the divine hierarchy, as it makes itself known and manifests to us in the context of our understanding of the imaginal world. It is, in fact, a living representation of the Grail as an imaginal vessel, which takes us beyond the realities of personality. It takes us beyond myth. Myth is too easy to dismiss. Well, you get that scholarly pause and they go, yeah, well, yeah, that's just myth. Well, I don't know, I think that it's time to move beyond that, that the institutions that embolden such behavior and such ideas are really no longer relevant. I mean, really, the idea of using these peer reviews to find a consensus is really it's just such a disservice because they're hiding behind the peer reviews. They don't really want to do anything. They're not really going to make any bold steps. They're not going to enter into a sacred communion with the divine hierarchy. They're just not going to do it because their personality is too involved in it. And I don't mean to put too much on them because really it's on us. We've been persuaded by them and dissuaded by them. And it's time to step out, and it's a wilderness trek that takes us to the imaginal world. It's where we're going to find our connection to the divine hierarchy. It's where we're going to find clarity. That's where it is, in my mind, in my experience. It is a supremely beautiful moment of connection. It is a confrontation with, a viewing of, a interaction with, a direct personal experience of beauty. What more could you want? And there are those who turn away from such things because they really want to stay in their personality and they're not willing to move. And it holds us back as a people. So I'm saying let's get back out there and begin to explore the imaginal world and move beyond our personality so that we can have a connection with the divine where our calling becomes much more clear as we understand how the progress of divine hierarchies unfold in our lives. It's a magical and beautiful thing. Amen.